being realistic in terms of the goals that you set for yourself, the things that you want from this life, the systematic life that is based on principles that you can't even control half of the time. It is very important to be critical and very realistic in those moments when you're making big decisions that could be life-changing. I think we live in an era now where manifesting and having things come just because we think we deserve it is very prevalent. And I think that's dangerous. Why is it dangerous? Well, manifestation is nothing without action. I'm gonna repeat that. Manifestation is nothing without action. You can think for the things that you want to come into your life. You can think all you want for this to come into your life. You can dream about it, have plenty of dreams. You can pray about it. But I promise you, if you're not putting the actions towards getting that, how is it supposed to reach you? It's a crossroads, you know what I mean? And you're trying to meet that halfway, the goal halfway. You need to put action into it, and a lot of people don't do that. And it brings the realism of them achieving that goal from here all the way to here. I remember there was a time in my life where I would go to the gym, and because I would just think, oh yeah, my family's got these genetics that are gonna get me to a certain point. I don't even need to lift that much. I can eat what I want. I soon found out I need to, stick to a diet. I need to stick to a routine that's gonna help me. You know what I mean? And that's what actually got me forward. A lot of guys, they stick in this la-la land where they think stuff is just gonna come to them. No, the actions need to be put in. You need to be putting in the actions every day with every decision you make. Every decision. And I know it sounds exaggerated, but I've seen it so many times. One little decision that you make, change what you was gonna do originally from, maybe it was hanging out with your friends, but you meant to do some sort of work, but you decided I'm gonna hang out with my friends. That could change the whole trajectory of your whole, where you're trying to get to. You need to make sacrifices, know what I mean? That's when we can start talking about if you're gonna get to the goal at all, know what I mean? It ain't easy. And a lot of people think just because they see it online or presented to them on the screen that it's attainable at any sort of measure, but it's not. Now, I mean, I think we need to be talking about that a little bit more, because the amount of people that really think that is becoming worrying. And I'm not against having goals. Having goals is amazing. Having goals is an excellent thing to have to your arsenal, being ambitious as a man or a woman, because that will ultimately make you want to, go do those things. But why don't you do those things? Procrastination, you slacking, or you're coming up with excuses in your mind. So how are you gonna get to that point? You're not going to. You're gonna stay in the same state. You need to be able to take risks, and I never really understood that before. I always thought that taking risks meant like in a superficial, over-exaggerated way, but no. It's because a lot of people are scared to even take a leap of faith with themselves, trust themselves through a process like, content creation, being an artist, or anything, any aspiring dreams that you're trying to get to. A lot of people are scared, and that's why it's called taking a risk. You have to take a chance. You need to be able to bet on yourself. And how do you get to that point? Okay, you start by building a resume. Build a resume of actions day by day of you actually being there for yourself, showing up for yourself, not slacking, not, just doing nothing. Because the more you do that, the more you'll be able to actually trust yourself. The more you're actually putting in effort to get to where you need to be, the more your brain is gonna subconsciously tell yourself that, yeah, okay, I trust this vessel and we can, continue moving forward. You can't bullshit yourself. You can bullshit as many people as you want, but you cannot bullshit yourself. And with the dreams and stuff like that, the reason they seem so true to you is because you keep telling yourself. But if you don't put the actions in, those thoughts are just thoughts. They're just pipe dreams at the end of the day. They're just fugazi. They're just gonna wander about in your mind. Actually putting in action is when you're gonna feel that satisfaction. And I know it's long. The journey is long, but that's where you get the satisfaction from. When you look back and you're like, okay, we actually put this work in, and I did that. Know what I mean? I think the most rewarding type of success is when you worked for it. The success that doesn't come overnight, the success that you have to go in day by day by day. because you can look back and be like, damn, I actually did that. You have a story to tell. You have a book to read about yourself. Doesn't that sound fun? Sounds fun to me. Like, that's really what keeps me going. Like, for me, what keeps me stepping and like really going with this shit, because I just know in a few years I'm gonna look back at a video like this, for example, just stuff that I was doing and being like, damn, like I really showed up for myself every day. I didn't give up, and I continued putting the actions through. And that's how you need to think. You need to think that for yourself. And I'm saying that because I care about you, not because, you know, I'm saying it because it sounds sweet, but I'm saying that because that's really how driven you need to be. You need to be so driven to the point where it's no question if you're gonna get to where you're gonna get to. It's like if you had to bet on the odds are in your favor. You know what I mean? Instead of like your actions not being in your favor. You know what I mean? And the main thing is preparation, I think, for any circumstance. You know, it's funny. I was having a conversation with my friend the other week. I was like, bro, if I had 1 million subscribers right now, I wouldn't be able to handle it. Or like even a couple thousand, I wouldn't be able to handle it. I need to be going through this phase of continuous videos and repetition in order for me to actually, you know, figure out, you know, what works for me, how I'm gonna maneuver on this YouTube thing, you know what I mean? And actually build myself up as a personality. And that's the realistic type of perspective you need to have with these scenarios. Otherwise, you're gonna give up. You know what I mean? You're gonna be thinking, why is the world giving me something that I so deserve? Why do you deserve it? Show the world that you deserve it. Show the universe that you deserve it. You need to be putting in the work in order for the universe to hand that back to you. It ain't just gonna be like, oh, I did nothing. And sure, some people get lucky, but did they actually get lucky? I don't think so. I think that with everyone's story, there's a bit of, how do you say, essence to it. You know what I mean? Substance. So preparation, how do we get there? Well, think about where you wanna be. Think about the person that you wanna be, what type of life you wanna live. What things do you think a person that's already there did in order for them to get there? What habits do you think that they, you know, implemented into their life? What type of mindset do you think they imposed into their mind? And how do you think on a day-to-day basis they treat the world and the people around them? You need to embody those things within you and also manifest it into your head. It goes back to this quote on Soul Eater, my favorite anime. A sound soul dwells within a sound body and a sound mind. Only then are you going to be able to really see your goals, believe in yourself, and put the actions through. You know what I mean? Believing in yourself, the mind, the actions, the body, and the spirit. Well, the spirit's just there watching. You know what I mean? And your spirit knows when you're bullshitting yourself. So you need to be able to show your spirit why you're deserving of this success in the first place. You know what I mean? Say I wanted to go into business. Well, if I wanted to start a business, what things do you think I'm gonna have to study? The business models that come with the business, the people that ran that business before, maybe. And also just keeping myself stable enough to be able to actually afford to even start a business in the first place. And I mean, all these things need to be taken into account. And sure, everyone's situation is different. I'm not saying it's always your fault. Some people gotta put in harder work than other people, but that's where the realism comes in. You know what I mean? You'd rather actually sit down and be realistic with yourself, see the cards have been dealt with you, see how much work you're gonna have to put in to get to the point you need to be, instead of actually just chasing a dream that maybe, you know, you're not even following the right algorithm to be close to that dream. You know what I mean? You gotta find what type of, you know, restrictions are holding you back and how you're gonna kill all of those restrictions in order for you to get to that goal. I think wake-up calls are a big thing, and I think for me, one of my first wake-up calls was when I got a call from HMRC, no, a text, sorry. And the text said that we're changing your tax code. I'm thinking like, what does that even mean? Coming to my next payslip and I have like £50 deducted from my total. I'm like, damn, like this is what it feels like to be an adult. But that was my first wake-up call, because I want to start a business. So I was like, okay, I need to actually know what these terms mean, like what different tax codes mean and all that. So I started revising on them, and I realized like I'm getting taxed too much. So I called them and I told them I think I have the incorrect tax code. And then they told me, oh, you might reach a certain threshold where this tax code is applicable. Which is crazy. They basically said that they're betting on the fact that I reached a certain threshold. I was like, I'm not reaching it. So I was chilling. Then I called them and got my tax return. But it's just little things like that you want to be prepared for. You know what I mean? And I should have revised a lot a lot longer before that in order for me to be prepared for those things. So I knew what was happening. I want to get to a point where I own a lot of side incomes that are giving me, you know, leverage in order for me to fuel things like my hobbies, like YouTube. You know what I mean? I want to get to that point. So I knew that I had to study on how to save money and stuff like that. And I could say I've saved a decent amount, and that couldn't have been done if I wasn't prepared in order to handle that amount of money. Always implemented that mindset where that money's gonna stick with me. All the money that's coming in is either gonna be for resources, things that I actually need, as opposed to, you know, tricking it on, you know, designer clothes or like just stuff that I don't need, you know what I mean, or going on dates and shit. I've always just had that mindset because I just know if I actually want to get to these certain points, yeah, it would be nice to do those things, but I need to make sure that I sacrifice those things in order for me to have that bit of money to fuel those businesses that I want to get into. You know what I mean? Shit like that. The notion of, you know, some people are meant to be bots and some people are meant to not be bots. I actually believe that 100%. I've seen it. A lot of people are comfortable because it's not, you know, facing reality is when the fun starts. And a lot of people don't want to do that because they have to look into the mirror and see themselves as a little boy as opposed to the man that they think they are. So a lot of people will stay in that la la land, not making no changes, not, you know, taking any sort of risks or bets on themselves. And that's how they stay in the same position. And that's why a lot of people don't make it. And I think a lot of people get into that trap just because they think it's so easy through the lens of social media, but it ain't always like that. You never know what's going on behind the scenes. Social media is a trap, and that's why I don't really be staying on that. I just be going on Instagram. If you tapped into my Instagram, I just be posting on there and out because I don't want my brain to get all mushed up by what I be seeing. And you can tell some of this like propaganda is put in order for people to feel like it's easy, so they get demotivated when stuff doesn't go their way. And I'm not rolling with that. I'd rather have my own perspective and really just like stay focused, you know what I mean? So if you're really trying to get to somewhere and you're serious about it, you really gotta look in the mirror and evaluate where you are at your life right now. Actually think about how much time you got left to get there. I don't think age is a really big, you know, determining factor of if you can get to a certain point, but I think age just adds more restrictions, okay? So if you're 30, you have to deal with, you know, family maybe, a lot more bills, and just life. Life gets a lot more tough when you get older, just because of how the system has made it. So you gotta think about your situation. Think about the steps that you need to apply in order for your situation. Think about your advantages and disadvantages. Weigh these things out and see if it's really worth it going into something. If you have a passion for it, for example, I really have a passion for just making videos and posting them, or music, for example. I make music on the side. If you have a passion, then it shouldn't feel draining. You can do it. But if you're actually thinking about, you know, doing something that's gonna be life-changing and you're betting on it for it to be life-changing, you need to see the options that are in front of you and see where you are and see if it's actually plausible. You know what I mean? I believe in a plan A, but I also believe in a plan B too. It's useless if all your plans are unrealistic. Your plans need to be realistic. Sustainable too. Sustainability is a big thing. You want to be able to have something that you know that in the future is still going to be up and running. You don't want to be doing something now that ain't going to be about in a few years. You gotta look at yourself and be like, okay, what can I actually bring to the table? What makes me deserving of this? Only then will you be able to, you know, take action. If it's a no, that's the only time you'll be able to take action. Once you find out that you're not where you need to be, once you find out that thing's not coming unless you put in the action in order to get to where you want to be, that's when the fun begins. You can't keep, you know, just lying to yourself and being like, oh yeah, I deserve this, the universe should give me this. Oh yeah, manifesting this, I'm praying for it, so God's gonna give it to me. Are you ready? Are you actually ready? And if you're not, get ready. Now, I mean, it's not impossible, but you need to have that mindset. You can't be delusional to yourself. The ego is a weird thing. The ego will tell you, I am ready. We are that nigga. Everyone thinks they're that nigga. Everyone thinks they're that nigga until it's actually time to be that nigga. You know what I mean? And then you're going to come up with another lie as to why you're that nigga. You need a resume. Like I touched at the start of the video, you need a list of things that actually you know, are credible about yourself. You know what I mean? And that's literally it. Be realistic. Don't be too optimistic. Being too optimistic gonna get you hurt. And you ain't gonna get to your goals that way. But yes, men's with 1900 thoughts. I'm out, man. You know, I'm out. I'm just in a good mood, bro. I hope everyone's doing good. If you stuck around to the end of this video, I love you. And subscribe, like, and comment. But yeah, men's with 1900 thoughts. I'm out.